This episode of Muddy River Gems is brought to you by Dot Foods.
I think what it comes down to is the culture and the people.
Our culture here at Dot is like no other. I've never experienced anything like what I've lived with for the last 12 years.
Dot is very diverse.
It is truly a family-owned business, but it is a family inside and out.
You always feel like you matter and you play a big hand in the pot.
There's so many opportunities to make a difference at Dot and really contribute to the success of the organization.
For the last 20 years or so, people have made a short trek north of Quincy to learn about and view fantastic herb and flower gardens. On this edition of Muddy River Gems, join us at Four Winds Farms. Deborah Lee, we're just sort of on the north outskirts of Quincy at Four Winds Farm. How long have you been operating this farm?
Well, I inherited about 21 years ago. And when I left Quincy, I grew up here and I graduated and I thought, I am never going to come back to Quincy. But I inherited like 120 acres.
Oh, and it's such beautiful property too.
Some of the best soil in the country. So I decided to come back and not do as much mountain climbing. And I love it. And each year I've just kind of expanded and expanded and expanded. And now we have Terrapin Farms with us, I think about 6 or 7 years now.
Right, and they have the
Across
produce
the
section,
driveway.
right? Yeah.
We work together and we just really enjoy that.
Yeah. What you've concentrated on largely, I know we've met you in another life, we've met you, but you have always been a believer that herbs can improve your life and maybe heal you of certain things.
Yeah, well, can't use the heal word though, technically.
Well, I can, you can't, okay, but anyway. But I mean, you don't make any claims, but the fact is you believe in the benefit of them. And so you have grown and expanded your herb operation, but you also have flowers and you have people that come out and they'll pay for like a subscription and they can come out in the year and then cut their flowers, cut their herbs. And so you've kind of expanded that every year.
Or people can come out at any time and for $12 get a bouquet.
Yeah.
Walk all around and do that.
So you spend a lot of your time weeding and planting and weeding and planting, just sort of keeping things up.
Yeah,
huh?
more so than I want to.
Yeah.
But it's hard to find good helpers. But I enjoy it and I want things to look good. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
love
let's
what I
start
do.
by going through the herb garden, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to follow you.
All righty. So this is kind of the first herb that's here. This is comfrey. It likes to spread. And
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
So I cut it back every once in a while, but this is really nice because you can see the leaf structure here. And so this is one of the things that I put in the salve that I make and other different products. And I'll just take it and do this and put it in olive oil and have it on a really low temperature, and I'll put another bunch of herbs with it.
Is it edible?
Technically not. There was some controversy about this herb for a few years, but it's something that's been used for thousands of years. It's good for bone healing and other properties, good for skin healing.
Can I just take a smell of that?
Sure. And you can take a little nibble.
It doesn't really have, it doesn't have much odor, but sure it's rough. Okay.
Yeah, so it has a lot of properties that are really health enhancing to your skin. Now, this is something that we might not normally talk about, but I think this is important. This is an herb. This is the third year that we've had this here at the farm, and it's a nasty herb. And usually when something grows, it'll like send up a little bit of a sprout, and then the roots will come down, and it'll take a long time. It'll take maybe like, I don't know, a month before you get a flower. This happens in 2 days.
Wow.
And this is just taking over.
Oh, so you're trying to get rid of this?
So we are just constantly, like, look at how many of them are here.
Yeah, I do see them.
And just a couple of days ago, I pulled them out. So I want people to know that if they see these, and you can see this little tiny flower here.
Yeah.
And it's something that can get pretty tall, and you just really don't want to have
All right,
it.
it just disturbs the rest of your stuff. Okay, all right.
So we have lavender here, and most people know lavender. It's been so dry that a lot of these even though I water them quite a bit, it's not the same as having rain. It's
No.
wonderful that we have rain.
Well, here we
today.
are, and the day that we begin to shoot, we've got
Yeah,
rain.
it's raining.
So, yeah. Okay.
Now this, you might think, oh, look at this messy garden. It has dandelion in there.
Yeah.
And it has plantain in the back. So there has been for quite a few years an herb of the year. And I'm not sure if that's going to continue anymore after next year, but dandelion is the herb of the year.
Oh, you got it.
And dandelion is a wonderful plant. It just doesn't get any respect.
Mm-hmm.
And it can go down, well, we did some shooting like 10 years ago.
Probably
or so,
10,
maybe.
yeah.
And we'd finessed up a root that was like about
I have pulled some in
4
my
or 5
yard
feet.
that are at least a foot long. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it can get very, very long. And when you look at the idea of that, it's helping to break up hard-packed soil.
Aha.
So that's why you find it in the lawn, but then people just kill it.
Yeah.
Because you really want to have soil that has a little more vitality to it.
Gotcha.
So it'll grow deep, and then a lot of water will creep down to lower levels, and then it will bring up.
And you can use dandelion, can't you? A lot of people make all kinds of things out of dandelion.
Wonderful. It's great for dandelion tea. It's safe to eat the leaves, especially in the spring. It's one of the first things that comes out, and it's a real tonic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great. You know, people should appreciate it a lot more. Now in the back here, where it's gotten a little more messy, I'm just letting this grow and try to fill out as much as possible. This is plantain, and it's another herb. I'm going to walk in here and
Okay,
maybe
watch
get
the
a little
mud.
muddy. But this is one that was native to the country. This kind of plantain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that also is very enhancing for, it kind of helps stop blood if you're, if you have like a scratch or something. It's very healthy.
It'll stem the bleeding,
in
huh?
many respects.
Okay.
And that's not the best looking one of it. But then the pioneers brought over a different kind. And this is still kind of the same structure, but the leaves are much, much different. And so I have both of them out here at the farm in my driveway even. And so you can see how beautiful this plant really is. So some of our things that we just don't have much respect for really do have some good health enhancing properties to them.
Okay, where are we headed?
So we're going to go this way. We have to look at this dandelion too now.
Oh my goodness.
That
yeah,
looks really
that's
good.
an impressive guy there.
Yeah.
That looks
I
really
had
good.
one up until last week over in this area, and it was just huge. And it's so beautiful. And then all of a sudden I walked in here a few days ago and it was dead. And I have no idea why, if it just didn't get enough water, although I thought I'd been watering it well.
Everybody's heard of thyme. People cook with thyme all the time.
Thyme is nice for different recipes. You know, it's something that you can put into a variety of things. But it also is one that helps if you make a tea out of it, or a tincture, like we showed of making tinctures. Then it's something that will have a property also of kind of a viral property or antiviral property. So it's helpful.
There's a really pretty purple herb over there.
This is something that's more for beauty. So it's a sage. It's in the sage family here, but it's nothing that I would necessarily use for using it for anything other than just.
It's very pretty. I mean, and does it grow easily? You could
it does,
spread. It'll
yeah,
spread
it just
for you.
spreads on its own.
Yeah.
And if we look over there, we can see some valerian.
Okay. The next.
We'll go over around here. We'll
right.
do a little exploring. And so there's one here, a couple of them here, and then there's one here also.
And what is that used for?
Valerian, I use the root. It has just a massive amount of teeny tiny root hairs. And so then you have to scrub that off, and that's kind of a chore, getting all the mud out of it. But that's something that I use, and sometimes I'll use it in my lip gloss, and I use it in some of my salves and other things because it just has a nice healing
Speaking of which, later in the program, you're going to help us understand how these plants become salves and lip glosses, okay? Good.
We will do that. Basil, we have a variety of different kinds of basils, and because we have people that come and pick the herbs, basil is really the most popular one. So And it grows back, like many herbs. Like if you cut it clear back to there, in about 2 days it will have grown up again.
It doesn't mind that a bit, huh?
No, it doesn't. This is mullein, something that kind of comes in on its own. A lot of times you'll see it where it's very, very tall. If you drive across the state of Colorado, you'll see thousands of these along the road. But it too, it's very soft. And I put this sometimes in my salves. It has this nice soft quality. The Mennonites and Amish will use it sometimes if they have burns. They'll put this on here.
The whole leaf.
They'll put the whole leaf on and maybe use some other things as well. So it's again one of these plants that comes up on its own, but it's very helpful. This is hyssop, which is a pretty flower.
Sure is.
And then we have some mojito mint, and that's this. A friend gave me that. I have a lot of peppermint.
Everybody knows what the mint
spearmint.
smells like. It's delicious.
Yeah. This little nasturtium popped up there. On its
That's
own.
very pretty.
Now, we'll go here into the flower garden. Each year we've expanded this a lot. And this particular plant has just grown and grown and grown and grown on its own. And so that's kind of fascinating because there's just like a little strip, and this is what it turned
Now,
into.
is everything we're looking at here, these are all...
all of these, everything else is planted except these girls just decided that they were going to come
okay.
up.
But they're all perennials. Are they all perennials?
These are perennials. Not everything is, though, here. So, like I said, anybody can come out at any time they want to between the time of 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock and stop at the farm stand and can buy a bouquet. And so they come through all of this area.
Come and cut your flowers,
Come
huh?
and cut your flowers, and then we'll see another area in a
Yeah.
little bit, and they can cut in that area too. But this year, these
It's beautiful.
These have really come up a lot. Now we look over here into some of the rudbeckias.
You have an irrigation system, but like you say, it's not as good as good old rain, huh?
Yeah, one of the things here, if we look down and see this ground fabric, this is something that you can't usually find in any place in a local store. You have to order it. But this stuff is amazing because it allows the moisture to go through, and then it holds it in there a very long time. And so more and more and more I'm using ground fabric in a lot of the different
And
areas.
so, and it keeps course weeds from coming through
keeps the
too,
weeds
right?
from coming too, but it really keeps the soil moist. It's an amazing.
And that's what most flowers want. And I guess the herbs too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get those roots down deep, and so we started part of it. This is the third year, and we'll probably next year add a little bit more to it. So we're trying to get like a different variety of a lot of different kinds of flowers.
Nice view, Deborah. You got the flower garden in the front and the herb garden in the back. Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you. I thought I'd show you a couple of my favorite plants. A lot of these people don't know much about them. This is called Status, and it's just it's really nice. I picked it a little shorter than you might, but it looks really pretty in a bouquet, and it lasts a long time.
And what's the name of it again?
Status.
Status.
And I just think it's something that's a little bit different. It comes also
Very little odor.
right, but it's a nice filler.
Oh, and this is the same? Just a
The
different...
same thing, just a different color. And then over here, another one of my favorite plants is snapdragon.
Okay.
And now this kind of came about because I work a lot with flower remedies, and they help the emotions. But this plant is interesting in that it has, like, you can open this up.
When we were kids, we used to play with those. Yep,
And
yep.
it's kind of, you could get your finger in there and you almost feel like you could get caught.
Venus flytrap.
For the aspect of the flower remedy of it, when this is for a person that's grouchy, snap, 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 snap. And it kind of helps calm them a little bit. So I think that's pretty fascinating.
It is fascinating.
I haven't noticed that it calmed me, but I'm not really very often snappy.
Those come in this ruby red as well? Are these also snapdragons? Yeah.
And then there's another pretty one this color too.
Yeah, that
And
is
they're really good in bouquets. They last a pretty good vase life
Mm-hmm.
in them. I'm always checking things and putting them in water and seeing how long they'll last. I
When-
want to show you some of them.
One question for you. In the fall, when you get when it freezes, do you have to cut all these back, or do you let them die off, and will they just come back again in the spring?
Last year we pulled everything out, and the zinnias are really hard to do that. They have a big root system.
Zinnias here.
So so we might not do that. I might just snip them off. Because it's a little easier, I guess. I learned that you can get them out in the spring a little bit easier. But I think it's just nice to get everything done in November.
If you pull them out, they don't come.
No.
Perennials won't come back.
No.
But
It's it's not a perennial.
oh, zinnia's not.
No,
Okay.
this is not.
Most of these are, but these are okay.
A lot of these that we've seen around here definitely are.
Yeah. Okay.
But mostly we have to replant them.
Gotcha.
So we'll go over here. There's a different type of a zinnia. These are a little bit bigger. This is kind of the most popular one. You can see that we've had a little problem here with just the lack of enough rain and just the conditions, but we can pick those out and it's not going to be really any problem. This too over here is like Rudbeckia.
Rudbeckia.
We saw that first Rudbeckia, but this is one that's a little more fancy, and they have a long lifetime. I need to probably do a little weeding over there, but that's never a problem to find weeds to pull around here.
There's plenty to do.
But there's a lot of different kinds of Rudbeckia, and I think it's just a beautiful plant too. I like the yellowness of so many things. These are dahlias, and these are also very, very beautiful flowers.
Oh, they are. Look how full that is. Oh, wow.
Sometimes they get much bigger than this. Well, there's one that's a little bit bigger.
The orange one?
Yeah, as we get more rain, they'll be filling out more.
Those have a nice fragrance.
So we'll walk back here where, again, a lot of these girls showed up where they weren't really invited. But so we need people that really want to get bouquets of these. Now over here we have some more, still more ground fabric. These are ones that crept up on their own. But these are some, this one fell off. This is a dahlia. And these are...
They just get that, they get wet and they're so heavy they just fall over.
Yeah, that can happen. But you can see some of them here, the beautiful yellow one.
Yep.
And then we have here some Lysianthus. We have a lot more. We have like a kind of a secret garden in the back, about an acre. And what Jessica's developing to get more and more flowers coming in. And so we have a few of these here. But eventually we'll have more in the back that can be picked. These are asters.
Those are, don't those bloom in the fall?
Yeah, this
These early,
is really interesting because you know, Jessica, who plants all of these for me, says, "Oh yeah, they always come at the same time," and they didn't. It was like more than 6 weeks ago. A few of them were coming out.
That's very early.
It's been a really unusual season. Plants are just blooming at different times.
They're confused. Well, it's been really unseasonably cool for the last 2 weeks now.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah,
but
it is nice, but
it was so dry. And when you water, I mean, that helps, but it's not like having the water from the rain.
We'll be back with more from Four Winds Farms on Muddy River Gems, brought to you by Dot Foods.
From our trucks to their lunch trays, to your local hospital, to your favorite pub, and to your kitchen table. For more than 60 years, Dot Foods and Dot Transportation have been stocking the shelves of your hometown. Sure, we've grown a lot, but at our core, we're still small-town, family-run businesses that care about our communities and the people who keep us running. Join the Dot family today and be part of something bigger.
Why work at Dot?
You could list out individual qualities forever.
There's a lot of opportunities. They take care of the employees, they take care of the community.
So our pay, our benefits, it's competitive. Time off, tons of flexibility.
They're willing to work with you to help you advance.
Deborah, you're an educator, and you've been teaching people about herbs and the benefits of herbs and what you can do with herbs for much of your life. And so actually on site here you have what you call the teaching center for groups to come in and learn, for instance, how you can utilize herbs and other things that you grow here. So let's look at a few products. What do you got in your hand?
Okay, so I have some lip gloss here. We usually don't make that. I make that and then I sell it. So it has like a lot of different herbs in it. It's really hard to read them here, but I want to get the things that like lavender and rose and calendula that are really good for the skin. And so there's a lot of different lip gloss that you can purchase, but it usually doesn't have any plant quality herbs in it. It's just usually something that doesn't. And so this gives, I have a lot of people, I've sold thousands of these and I get a lot of good results, really good comments back from them. So it's something easy to do and it's fun to do, so I enjoy that.
And sort of the setup, this kind of shows after you prepare that you can put these blanks in this container and just sort of fill them up.
Yeah, you have to have them go the right direction. So on the back, this is what it looks like, and then this fills it up here, and then it comes up to the top, and so then you kind of waste a little bit of it, but you just scrape that off and use it for the next batch.
And I guess the base is, you use a lot of beeswax, don't you? And I guess that's what the base is, isn't it?
Pretty
now,
much
beeswax. Okay, so you have to buy that because you don't have bees here on the farm,
correct.
Right? Yeah.
Well, we do have bees on the farm, but we're not doing anything with this. With them,
Okay, so
we
beeswax
have a
is sort
person
of
that brings their bees, and we really appreciate that because they're wonderful pollinators.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they, what do you mean they bring them? They actually bring them in a
the
hive
whole
container
hive,
and then let them free, and they do your pollination for you.
Yes, one of our master gardener friends does that.
Well, that's neat.
And that works out really well.
What's the solution here that we're looking at?
So this is what it looks like before I put it into these tubes. And so this one's just kind of messed up here a little bit. And I probably scraped, this is probably a scraping that I did.
Would you have to warm this up to get it more liquefied so you could pour it?
So we get it all nice and warm and then pour it in there. And so it takes a little bit of writing down each time to be sure that I tweak it and get it the way that I want to. And then at the very end of that, when I have this all warmed up, then I add the essential oils that I want to have in there. And so usually those have to do with the ones I mentioned, with lavender and rose and calendula and some of the other
we have a lot of containers of all different sizes here. This one has no labels on them yet, but these do. And these are salves that you make here?
And these are all the same salves. And this is called Wounds and More.
Wounds and More.
So this is like a smaller one, and then the others are larger.
And what would you rub this on? Why would you use it?
I use it sometimes for face salve, but it's really good for cuts and scrapes and things like that. And there's a long time where we couldn't really make any medical claims, and I still try not to. But I lived out in the north for a while, country, and then I was in Virginia and Vermont a little bit. And so at that time, Patch Adams, there was a movie about Patch Adams.
I remember the movie.
It wasn't a good movie about him, but he had Gesundheit Institute in West Virginia, and I used to teach some classes over there. And so he sent some of the nurses over to learn how to make the salves. And they were finding that if they had a broken leg, it would heal a lot faster.
Really?
I can't really make medical claims like this, but because they can, that was wonderful. And so I imagine they're still using those salves. And it's just because of the chemistry. Now, a lot of people, I think, think herbs, there's nothing to that. And there's kind of a shift with the medical profession and that. But really, it's all chemistry. So you can look online and you can find out that there could be like over 100 micronutrients in something like dandelion or any one of the plants. So it's not like there's no science behind it. We can understand the science, and we can understand that there's that blend that has helped us since the beginning of time. People figured out what herbs to use depending on where they lived. So I think there's a place for both of these now. It's wonderful if you need to go have heart surgery or something like that, what a blessing. But it's also nice to be able to have things that if you take them immediately, then there's a much better opportunity that you'll cut it, like if it's a flu or virus or even COVID, like right at the first little hint.
We have some of your herbs that you grew here on the farm, and these are dried, right?
Yes.
What are we looking at here, and what are they used for?
Well, so these are just a few of the ones that I use, and these are probably the most favorite ones, and this is rose. Rose is, you can take your petals and dry them. I have a friend that has a spare bedroom. And she puts a sheet on top of the bedspread, and she has a fan up above, and she dries these for me, and they dry really, really quickly. And this is lavender. I pick those. Sometimes I order these in, you know, because sometimes when I do order it in from like Mountain Rose Herb or someplace, then it's really good quality. And then this is calendula. So I collect a lot of the calendula flowers myself, and that's another one. All of these are very high quality for helping our exteriors.
You use them all regularly, and
I do.
Here's another one that I wasn't so familiar with. Now, the salve we talked about, and also the lip gloss, but this is an interesting product. It's called tincture?
A tincture. I do a lot of classes. I've taught quite a few, just hundreds of medicinal herb classes, and I'll teach people how to make these. They're very simple. So a tincture basically is where you have kind of an alcohol base in here. And then you will take whatever herb that you want or herb combination, and you would chop it all up real fine. And then you'd put it in there, and you'd leave it for maybe like a couple of weeks or a month. Yeah. And you shake it, you put in vodka.
We were wondering why the vodka bottle was sitting there next
to
it.
It's not because I have a shot once in a while. Vodka is really good for pulling out the ingredients that are in there. And so traditionally, people would take some kind of container or a glass one if it's, you know, that part of moving forward in civilization, and they just have it for a long time and allow all the ingredients to soak into your menstruum, your base.
Can you show us a tincture, or show us what it looks like?
This is the snooze and the soothe and snooze.
Okay.
It's not easy to say.
No, but it's easy to take, I'll bet.
Yes, and you can smell it if you want to, and you just fill it up, and here I'll demonstrate. Has a little bit of a kick to it, you know, you can taste that, but...
And what's the effect?
I use this a lot if I can't get to sleep.
Really?
Because I'm doing a lot of gardening, and I'm running around and doing things, and sometimes you're kind of revved up, and so I'll just take a couple of these. You know, I could have a half a glass of wine, but I'll do this instead. But it's just something that is very relaxing to the system and health enhancing.
So to prepare that, it takes the vodka or whatever alcohol you decide to use, and the herb, and then do you it's infused, I guess. So do you boil them together?
So usually I get like a gallon. I don't know if I have any sitting out here, but I have a gallon container. And so I would fill that pretty much up with the vodka, and then we would put in the plant base. And so if it's something that I got out of the garden, or maybe sometimes I'll order something in because I don't have it, I'll try to pulverize it if it's dried or chop it up. And then ideally about every day you just go and shake it up. And you do that from pretty much full moon to full moon. You want to have at least over, this is very traditional because there's more of a draw during the full moon. So that's if you're going to do it traditionally, that's the way to do it. And so then I will just take and put it into containers and
label it, and away it goes. Interesting.
And so I have some other things here. I have elderberry. Elderberry is the same thing. Elderberry is just a wonderful, wonderful herb. It's an antiviral, and if you take it just at the very, very beginning of noticing that you're getting a cold or COVID or whatever, that's the time that you want to take anything that you're taking to cut off. You don't want to have, like my mother, God bless her, she would say, well, I think I'm getting a cold. Yeah, I'm getting a cold. And by day 3, she has a cold. Yeah. And she's sick for
Can't do anything about it.
No, maybe she's sick for a whole week. But if you just, at the first indication, then you take like just a dropper full of that or a couple of them. It's really amazing because, you know, you don't have as many germs. You can just right away be able to address it. And I think that's an important secret of working with herbs.
Deborah, this is your backyard. You lucky thing. I mean, look at all you got going on here. And of course, I guess this is part of people want to come out, they're welcome to walk through here as well.
And people haven't realized that. So now I have little passes at the farm stand to say that you can come over here and walk through free.
You don't mind people walking through your yard? No, okay, well, it's gorgeous. I mean, and I don't know how you keep it all up, but somehow you do.
I don't know either. But since I am, it's nice to have people come and look.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the butterfly garden.
Okay,
because we can't see everything, but
this is the butterfly garden. And so we have just a variety of plants that the butterflies like. This is something that I put in like a little amount of that, probably like, 7 or 8 years ago, and it just expands and spreads. And so that's nice to have perennials that come back, and we have more milkweeds than we ever have.
The tall ones, and monarchs, that's where they lay their eggs, right? On milkweed plants?
Yeah.
So that's very important, and you will draw them in the fall, I guess, before they take their journey.
Right,
huh?
so they came out earlier in the year, and we've had a few that have coming by. One thing that I noticed is we don't have as many black swallowtail, and we have this Mexican sunflower up here, and they really like those. So we're kind of going through a period where there's not as many butterflies as I would usually see. Now behind us here, I know we don't have too much time, so we have to look at the fairy garden.
We gotta hustle.
We have to look at the fairy garden. And then of course there's the question, are fairies real or not? So I don't know that. But we have like a lot of ferns, and so we've gotten those nasty little bugs that come through, and they're kind of causing a problem with that, and I keep cutting them back.
Say, you mentioned earlier a sunflower, variety of sunflower over in the butterfly garden. But soon you're going to have what you call a sunflower maze.
Yes,
right?
We are.
And what's that? What's that going to be for? What will that look like? And what will people do with it?
It's just going to be able to walk through. We're actually going to do this twice this year. So we have one back behind here, where right now it's all been planted. And then Brad Whiston, who's part of our other side of the road, will come through and he'll make a path. And so he'll cut down a lot of them, and there'll be a path to go through.
So it'll be like a corn maze out of sunflowers, huh?
Yes, and then we'll come through this way. And then about a month later, we're going to have another one that he's just starting to plant now, and that'll be over in
and they'll be in bloom for the
maze?
That's
the goal. Yeah, we want to have them in.
Yeah, and of course everybody knows those things get about 8 or 10 feet tall, and these big flowers. That'd be fun to walk through.
Yeah, I think the other one are going to be ones that are a little bit shorter, because that's nice for kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. As you might suspect, fall is always a big time here at Four Winds Farms, and this year especially with the addition of the sunflower maze. The public is invited out. This has been an edition of Muddy River Gems, brought to you by Dot Foods. Thanks for watching.
This episode of Muddy River Gems was brought to you by Dot Foods.